A decaying prime ministerial residence isn't just about real estate. It's not just a real estate problem. It's a physical manifestation of a political class that's too terrified of voter backlash to make a decision. The long-delayed multi-million-dollar restoration of 24 Sussex Drive highlights an institutional paralysis where optics completely trump governance. Prime Minister Carney announced plans to restore the residence just last week.
24 Sussex is nearly as old as our country. First built in 1868, for more than 75 years, this house has welcomed leaders from around the world, including Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Sir Winston Churchill, President John F. Kennedy. 24 Sussex Drive is more than a residence. It's greater than a mere backdrop to history. It's a symbol of the public office of the head of our federal government and of the democratic traditions that office represents. Canadians rightly expect their leaders to take decisions where the benefits may only be realized long after they're in office. And this is the type of decision we're taking today, because good stewardship demands it, and because Canadians rightly expect it, and because the future of our institutions, all our institutions, depends on us leaving them better than we found them. We have to apply that principle comprehensively, not selectively.
And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre dismissed the PM's plan.
I really don't think about it at all. You know, I just think when I go around this country and I meet so many people who can't afford a place to live, when I see the homelessness on our streets and I see the young people who are desperate to start families but can't get a house to do it, I just think the last thing on our minds should be 24 Sussex Drive.
Well, that's rather rich from somebody who's living in Stornoway. Continued to do so after losing his seat in an election his party lost. However, I will not throw any more snowballs in that direction. I think everybody is smart enough to figure out that it rings a little hollow coming from Mr. Poilievre when he's been spending the last couple of years as leader of the opposition living on the taxpayer's dime, including when he had no seat.
Yeah, which is what, about 3 or 4 months, sir? 3 or 4 months of living at our expense, Gary, right?
That's right. Well, the election was at the end of April, and the by-election was mid-August. And then by the time he was sworn in, we were looking at, what, late August, early September, something like that. So, yeah, you know, that little at the beginning, yeah, that's not ringing with me. And I'm sure a lot of Canadians are finding that one a little bit bitter to swallow as well. Now, with apologies to everyone, because I've got something a little extra to throw in here. And it's a Canadian out in BC, Todd Maffin, who has YouTube, he has Facebook, he has Reels, he has TikTok, and he is well-spoken and has a large following. And he had a little clip that he did for 24 Sussex Drive. Anyway, he did it, and I just decided I'd play a couple of, about a minute of it, because I think it kind of sums up the whole thing, and with apologies to Todd, because I didn't get a chance to reach out to ask him, but it's something that I think it's well done. I really appreciate his work. If you haven't had a chance, his links will be up on the screen while the video is playing. By all means, check him out. I think you'll end up subscribing like that. So anyway, let's go to Todd's clip.
While the American president demolishes part of his taxpayer-funded residence to build a $300 million ballroom, in Canada, the residence of our leader has been sitting empty for a decade because it is literally falling apart. This is the story of 24 Sussex Drive, a Gothic revival mansion in Ottawa, built in 1867 by a lumber baron, eventually taken over by the federal government, and turned into the official residence of Canada's Prime Minister. In 1951, Louis St. Laurent moved in, and almost every Prime Minister after him lived there too, right up until 2015. That is when Justin Trudeau moved into Rideau Cottage instead, a small house on the grounds of the Governor General's mansion. Trudeau said the official residence was in such a state of disrepair that it wasn't habitable. He wasn't wrong. Asbestos, mold, rodents, dead electrical systems. 2 years ago, they had to gut the interior just to make it safe for workers to enter. So why did this happen? 2 words: bad optics. Every prime minister since Trudeau knew the math. Renovations could cost anywhere from tens of millions to over $100 million, and fixing up your own residence while Canadians are struggling with rent? None of them wanted that headline. So each one just passed the file on the next guy. Former Prime Ministers Jean Chrétien and Stephen Harper, on opposite ends of the political spectrum, even offered to lead a private fundraising campaign to fix the place. Now compare this to the Americans. Since 1800s, the White House has been redecorated, structurally rebuilt, given a 3rd floor, an east wing, a west wing, a press briefing room, and is currently getting a 90,000 square foot ballroom that is larger than the entire White House itself.
Yeah. So I think you should go and find that video on his Facebook site or on his YouTube site and watch the rest of it, because it is really quite entertaining but extremely informative as well. And as I say, if you start checking out some of his other videos, you're not going to be disappointed at all. So great work, Todd. Just great work.
Did he really put that into perspective and really set us up for the rest of our segment here? Like, wow, well said, well said.
Yeah, very much so. So let's have a look at it. Overall, we have decades of neglect. 24 Sussex Drive remains a hazardous, unlivable shell after successive governments kicked that political football down the road. The cost of the inaction, while delaying basic infrastructure maintenance, as we all know, has inflated the ultimate taxpayer bill on an older house like that into the tens of millions. And this is where we get into the politics of it. The leaders across the political spectrum refused to greenlight the restoration, fearing political ads weaponizing the spend against them. Well, Eddie, somewhere along the way, somebody has to take the bull by the horns. So finally, along comes Carney.
Someone does.
Yeah.
Someone does.
Exactly. Someone finally does. They have the gonads to go ahead and let's do it. And they're doing it in such a way, they've set up a foundation with the support of former prime ministers, and they're going to raise money from Canadians. Now, Carney says that anything related to security for the Prime Minister and his or her family, including young children, if that happens to be the case at some point down the road, will be borne by the government. And yes, the government could fund the whole thing. However, this is a roundabout way of getting Canadians involved in the restoration of a symbol of our democracy. The home dates back to 1867, and it has been in service, with the Canadian government picking it up, and has served a number of prime ministers. Mm-hmm. And we should have an official residence for a prime minister. She is the leader of our country, the very top rung of our democratic system. And I think that we should really embrace that and show our pride, not only in our country, but in the pillars of our country, our democracy. And one of them is our Prime Minister, as the head of government, should have an official residence, and one where, like, they're going to have to add on to this facility because he or she needs office space, meeting rooms, so that they can work out of there, and also for entertaining other heads of state.
Right.
And that could be heads of states, a number. Under, in the number 1 address in Canada, 24 Sussex Drive. Anyway, that's, Poilievre's talking about, well, there are a lot of homeless people, and yes, there are. Yes, there are. I don't disagree with that. And yes, we need to be addressing the situations on our streets in a fashion that's going to show some progress. But the first thing we have to do is we have to stop feeding them drugs and alcohol as a way of maintaining whatever level they're at. Like, the whole system has to be reviewed. And we also have to work on getting affordable housing, no question. But those are all parts, they all come together. You can't keep kicking this football down the road as far as our official residence is concerned. And I don't have a problem with Carney coming out with this plan and the fact that he's actually giving Canadians a chance to donate to the restoration process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, there we talked about this in one of our episodes and over one of our many coffees, and I think we both, as citizens of this wonderful country, felt very embarrassed by what 24 Sussex Drive has become. I think that they should just basically take a picture of it, Disney, for example, and build a haunted house out of it, because that's exactly what it ended up being. And as a democracy to be envied by other countries around the world, to in global media, to actually see our prime minister delivering addresses from Rito, which is not exactly what you would like to see our prime minister standing in front, coming out of his porch to address the country. We need a little bit of pride in ourselves, our government, and how we treat our government officials. I'm very, very saddened by, the likes of the Mulrooney's, the likes of the Chrétiens, the likes of the Harpers, and especially Mr. Trudeau. They just didn't do anything about restoring that heritage site. It is a heritage site. Every government building is a heritage site. And to treat it as such, I think, is an absolute travesty. And they all basically chickened out and bowed out because they didn't want to be the ones to be criticized for making that big boy decision. And you know what? Here comes Mr. Carney, recognizes the fact that this prestigious building will be a multi-purpose, multi-function establishment. A, it's going to be his home, the Prime Minister's office. B, and as you very properly put, any delegation coming from whatever country into Canada to discuss affairs of state, affairs of Canada, affairs globally, why not put them up at the Prime Minister's residence? I mean, it has multiple rooms, and it'd be able to hold a lot of leaders simultaneously, where they can actually have secure private conversations about the sovereignty of our country or the sovereignty of their country or business and economy. Now they've got to what? They got to outsource and go to different hotels and get together that way. I think it's just ridiculous. And Gary, let's right at the beginning of that clip that you showed, here you have half the White House in shambles. They're going to be paying tens of billions of dollars to get this thing restored to its proper format. And here we are in Canada, a G7 economy. We got no place to put up our prime minister. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that a prime minister made the decision and is going to restore this without necessarily going through an entire taxpayer-paid exercise where he's creating a funding program to be able to pay for this, because it's going to cost a lot of money because of a horrendous amount of years of neglect. And good for him. You know what? He'll take 8 steps forward. He's willing to take 1 step backward, and he'll continue taking 8 steps forward. You know what? This is a step forward, Gary, in my view. And Any government building, I mean, you look at the Parliament, you look at Center Block, East Block, West Block, you look at the Senate. This place is under constant renovations for the upkeep because they are aged buildings and they keep them looking great. When people come visit the Canadian government, City of Ottawa, the Parliament buildings, they're all awestruck. No matter where they come from, they're all awestruck. And you know what? And then all of a sudden on the news or whatnot, they'll see the Prime Minister's residence and they'll hear about 24 Sussex Drive being on shambles. I think as Canadians, we should all be embarrassed, including Mr. Poilievre. You know, this is one of those opportunities I think he should have taken to compliment Prime Minister Carney on actually doing this. I think he would have gotten himself a lot more brownie points than the poking and rhetoric, sitting in his chair like he matter of fact he doesn't care, but he'll go ahead and criticize the Prime Minister for his decision. So in my book right now, Mr. Poilievre lost brownie points. I think that was a tactical mistake. And by the same token, I'm sure that when 24 Sussex Drive is finally restored, and maybe one day PP might get a chance to sit in the chair, I certainly hope he's going to put up his hand and say, no, you know what? No, I've got my principles. I'm not going to stay at 24 Sussex Drive. That will not happen. So I'm really happy Prime Minister Carney took this decision. If Mr. Poilievre was sitting in the chair, I really hope he would have taken the decision. So equally, I'm giving both men the opportunity to do the right thing, and I think one out of the two actually did it. So there's my piece, Gary. You know how passionate I am about Canadian architecture and the beauty of our government buildings, and this one was a thorn in my side, and I'm glad somebody's finally pulling it out.
I popped a question into the comments. Should the government completely demolish 24 Sussex Drive and build a modern, functional, cost-efficient official residence, or is preserving the heritage structure worth the ongoing political gridlock? Well, I think we're breaking the gridlock now. And also, building a modern, functional, cost-efficient official residence, good luck with that, because the way government contracts go, you and I both know, let's be honest, that the cost of a new, modern, efficient facility is going to come out to almost what the restoration of 24 Sussex will come out to. We both know that.
And then some.
And then some, exactly. And what are we going to have? We're not going to have something that dates back to the birth year of our country.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is worth whatever it costs to restore this building and add to it so that it's totally functional as an official residence and workspace. And that's what it needs to be. And the other thing is, and Carney said so the other day, he said, I won't be living there.
Yeah.
In other words, yeah, it's not going to be finished before he ends whether the voters end his political career or he decides to end his political career. And I have a feeling that he may not last. If he goes in and wins another term, I think he's probably going to be like a 2-term. And then he's just going to say, okay, I've set these wheels in motion. I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, or most of what I wanted to accomplish, and he's going to set sail.
Yeah. So he's not really,
That's what I think.
That's what infuriates me about Mr. Poilievre's comment. He's not stupid. He knows damn well that this project can take anywhere between 5 and 7 years. It's got so much that needs to be done to it that Mr. Carney is not going to be the beneficiary of his decision. It's going to be the next prime minister is going to enjoy it. So he's obviously not doing it for himself. He's doing it for the country. And I think the decision was made. Personally, I think the decision was made on behalf of the country, for the country. So yeah, interesting point, Gary. He's probably not going to get a chance to live in it. Probably if he gets the second term, it'll be a two-term and done, and then hand the keys over to somebody else, right?
Exactly. The more I think about it, the more I think he's going to be like a Frank McKenna. McKenna did 10 years and resigned
Yeah.
and left. I think just the way he said that the other day at the news conference, I got thinking about it later, and that's what I think. Coming back to Polyev, you mentioned about losing brownie points in your book. Polyev's in a deficit of brownie points in my book and has been for a long time. And the sooner the Conservatives get rid of him, the better the party's going to be in getting somebody in there with some fresh ideas that can actually connect with a majority of Canadians. Now, I'll stop that because I want to get on with a couple of other things. First of all, please, we want to hear from you as far as your comments and reactions to the questions and what we're discussing here this evening. And if you like what you're watching, by all means, remember to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Facebook. Also, we are tonight experimenting with a stream going to Instagram. I don't see any real action there, although we didn't get a chance to pre-promote it. Yes, if you are watching us, yes, you had to turn your phone sideways because we are streaming in horizontal. But if this goes okay and we don't have any major technical difficulties within the next week or so, I'll have it set up so that there's a separate vertical stream going out, which will make it easier for you to watch on your phone. So that's that out of the way. Now, let's talk about the symbolism of decay. When a G7 nation cannot manage to preserve or securely rebuild its leaders' official residence, that sends a global message of administrative incompetence. It really does. The fear of the voter, the continuous gridlock proving that modern political communication is entirely defensive. Leaders would rather let a national heritage site rot than defend unnecessary capital infrastructure spend. In the permanent campaign, well, because Canada operates in a state of perpetual polarization, structural governance decisions are constantly sacrificed for short-term 24-hour news cycle survival. Carney said it the other day. It's up to us. It's a responsibility that we leave things better than what we found them. And this is one of those steps where hopefully he's going to leave things better than what he found them.
Yeah.
Eddie, if you want to weigh in there, go ahead. I'm just going to bring up a couple of quick comments too while we're
absolutely.
talking.
I mean, well, look, I mean, every time the Prime Minister of Britain, United Kingdom, Keir Starmer or whoever else has something to say to the world or to his constituents, I mean, boom, there it is, the familiarity of 10 Downing Street. Everyone knows 10 Downing Street, and it's quite the building, a heritage building in the UK. So when you see him walk out from that, you know exactly where the person is, and this is the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And Élysée Palace in France with Emmanuel Macron and all the previous leaders of that country. I mean, that's the presidential palace of France. This is where the prime minister resides. For a government leader to be living in high-end heritage real estate that displays to the world that I am the leader of my country, I think is paramount to sending a clear message to the rest of the world. I am so-and-so, I am from Canada, I'm Prime Minister of Canada, and I will regularly speak to you from this fantastic monumental building. We just haven't done that since 2015. I think it was 2015 the last time it was occupied. And then, of course, you look at that disaster in the United States right now. It's, beautiful White House. The President of the United States is addressing the world from the White House. why is it such a big deal for Canada not to have the same? And again, I won't jump on my horse right now on my soapbox, but previous prime ministers had the opportunity to bite the bullet and take control of this and get it fixed once and for all. Because look, fix it now, it's going to be something our prime ministers and the world can enjoy for the next 100 years. Get it done. It's finally done. And by the way, I'm also with you, Gary. I really don't want that building knocked down and put new foundations, new cement, and a new modern building put into place. This particular building, in terms of its architecture, can be modified to accommodate anything that our government would need domestically or internationally, for sure. So I'd say let's just keep it as a heritage site.
Or at the very least, incorporate the walls, the facade of the structure into modern facilities on the inside. However, I think there are probably some architectural details, decorative details on the inside that are still in relatively good shape and need some restoration work that should be preserved in their original place within the house. I think as much as possible should be preserved, the same as what they've been doing over the last number of years and will be for another couple of years with Parliament Hill.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
same thing. And when you look at some of the video of some of the areas that have been completed inside now of the house, it's beautiful. It's just mind-blowing. But let me say this too, Eddie. You know, if our institutions are too paralyzed to make a definitive decision on a single isolated house on Sussex Drive, it explains why they consistently stall out on massive national challenges like defense spending, energy corridors, and major infrastructure.
Indeed.
It's one thing follows another. And the more we stumble on things like this and get into some of the foolish debates that we get into at times, that reflects on our standing within the G7. It reflects on our standing within the G20. It reflects on our standing in the entire world. And as we're going to talk about in our final segment, our standing is fading a little bit. So we need to suck it up and let's get our engine started and headed in the right direction. So, and I sorry if I kind of paused on that. I had another phrase in my about to roll over my tongue, and I said, no. So a little bit of no.
Keep it in mind, and you can tell me after the show.
Okay, so Eddie, what is our takeaway?
Well, ladies and gents, the crisis at 24 Sussex isn't about brick and mortar. It's a political culture that values avoiding blame far more than delivering results.